I think if you followed me around, that would probably be the best way to understand ABA. So if you followed me on a typical day, I go into the home. Let's say it's the first time that I've met a family. That's probably the really important thing so that you can anticipate what would happen. So you finally get a BCBA to come into the home. What's going to happen? I go in and I talk to the family. We get a real good idea of what the behavior looks like, the biggest behavior of concern, we'll say. And I often say, if I could give you $1 million to make the behavior happen right now, could you make the behavior happen? Could you make a tantrum happen right now by doing something in particular? That would be the antecedent, right? That would be the trigger that can make the behavior happen. And that tells me a lot of information. But beyond just talking to you about it, then I look at the data. You might have IEPs, you might have doctor's notes, you might have other things. So I look at the physical paperwork that you might have, along with talking with you, and informal assessment is what we call these. And then we also do an observation. So you would never start treatment without actually watching the child behave. And I can learn a lot. One of the things that always happens is the child will not behave poorly in front of me the first time, which is okay. And the parents always worry that, oh no, she's not gonna see it, like taking your car to the auto shop and it doesn't break down right. But I don't need to see the child misbehave in order to see patterns that are affecting the child. So don't worry about that if that happens. So a combination of what you say and what I read and what the child does, and I can actually create scenarios that tell me what I need to know, even if it doesn't cause huge tantrums. I don't want to cause those huge tantrums, but I can cause enough to understand what might from that. So I love doing those. That's a really easy way to go in and we start it. But then what we're looking for is mostly skill deficits, right? If there's a function to the behavior that is a skill deficit, that's where my background in special education comes in. So before the behavior analysis, I was a special education teacher, and we did assessments and found what was a missing skill and taught them that. If I find that the child is tantruming because they're missing a skill, then that's what you would do in behavior analysis. You go in and you find out what skill is missing that's causing them to choose this way to behave and get what they want versus an easier, more logical way. The easiest example of that would be communication, right? If a child doesn't know how to say, help me, then they're likely to scream and cry, and that's what you see from babies from a very young age. They don't know how to speak yet, so they're screaming and crying. So we teach kids how to speak, right? You didn't need a behavior analyst to do that. We teach kids communication because they use crying to get what they want until we teach them better ways to do it, and that's what behavior analysis does. So, but as they get older, if they still aren't communicating in a way that gets their needs met, then there may be a skill deficit, whether it's just learning language, whether we bring in what's called a proloquo, which is a computerized, it's actually the program that's on the computer, but it's a computer assisted program for language. So if you have aphasia or just an inability to speak, then we can have computers do it for you. And then I can teach them to use the program for the computer to be able to speak for them.